Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to talk about easing the suffering of good men because I believe that the good men in this day and age are suffering unjustly, unfairly. I myself am suffering. We have very similar problems. Now, of course, I am not speaking to all men. I am focusing on the men who are suffering, who are in pain, who need some sort of insight, because I myself suffer in this way. So let me tell you what I'm talking about here. Why do we suffer? Why are we in such pain, such anger, such frustration, such rage, such emotional turmoil? Why? Now, from a simple point of view, just a basic point of view, you could say, is it because of what has happened to you? Is this why you are suffering? And bad things happen to good people. You can do all the right things, act in the right way, behave in the right way, value the people around you, and bad things can still happen to you. You could do all of the wrong things and be a terrible person. And guess what? Good stuff could happen to you. This is true. This is the truth. So when something bad happens to you, naturally, you or I feel bad. Is that the cause of your suffering and pain and misery and frustration, the bad things that happen to you? Because I would say no. That in and of itself is not the cause. Here, things are very, very unfair for men in this day and age. Why? Because the meta story of what a man is has been taken away. He has been reduced down to animal status, sex hungry, power hungry, dominance hierarchy dominating preacher. That's it. Is that all you are? If that was all you are, how would you look upon the suffering of other people? When you saw somebody else suffering, would you feel anything at all? Would you, if that's all there is, just you trying, to get stuff and the other man trying to get stuff, and then something really bad and unfair happens to another man, a good man, is that it? When good things happen to us, we say, this is good. We are at peace. The universe is good to us and we are happy. Okay. And then bad things happen to us and we are at war. Why? Why did this happen? This isn't fair. This isn't right. Why am I suffering through this? Is that good and evil? So when good things happen to you, like you get lucky, maybe you find some money, maybe you get a raise that you weren't expecting. Is that good? And then when something happens to you that you didn't anticipate and it harms you, certainly you're going to call it bad, but would you call it evil? You might call it evil. So if you're in a job and you're doing a good job and somebody tells lies about you and slanders you to the boss and you get fired, you feel bad. Was it evil? I don't blame anybody for saying it's evil. How about this? How about a woman falsely accuses you of a crime and the whole system around you does everything it can to verify her claims, but does nothing to verify your claims of innocence? Well, that's a tough situation. I've been in that situation. Let me just tell you something really quickly. Remain calm, okay? Calmness can get you through a lot of calamities. In other words, by not letting things visibly upset you externally, you assuage much of, what's coming your way. But to act in rage, in frustration, and then to express that in other people's eyes might very well verify these unprovable, unknown claims against you. It's also good for your metabolism, right? It's not good for you to get all upset and worked up. Now you're probably saying, yes, but I'm a man who loves justice. Therefore, I have to get upset. Are you sure? What if you and I and any individual could never possibly know good and evil? We know good and bad. We know happy, sad. But what if you take it upon yourself to decide good and evil within the entire universe? Well, that's a bit of a burden, my friend, because here's the thing. What can you do about it? You can do things within your individual life. You can perhaps separate yourself from toxic people. But can you change the nature of man? Of course not. Can you bring revelations to man? Of course not. That's not yours to do. You can tell them things. You can share your knowledge with things. You can tell them stories. But they themselves must come to these revelations. Otherwise, they're meaningless. It's like somebody telling you how to get someplace that you don't want to go. It's just in one ear and out the other. So, is the cause of your suffering the hard work that you do and the little reward that you get? Is that the cause of your suffering? It seems to be, right? But what if it's not? What if the cause of your suffering is in fact what you think about what happened to you? Not what happened to you, but what you think about what happened to you. And what if the nasty part kicks in? The horrible self-recrimination, self-doubt, anger, frustration only kicks in when you decide that you are the judge of good and evil. Not right and wrong, not good and bad, but good and evil. So in other words, bad things happen to the man. He feels bad. It's not good. But then he says to himself, this is evil. I cannot stand with this. I cannot brook this. To brook this is to accept evil. But there's nothing you can do about it. So where is the source of your suffering? What is the source of your anguish? What is the source of your frustration? Why are we shaking our fists at God? There is injustice, and it's not right. Seems like it's evil, doesn't it? Does to me. Weak people, women, frightened people, envious people, they just want to tear it down. That isn't right. That's evil. But it's a little bit above my pay grade, isn't it? The fact that people will do selfish things, destructive things to other people in order to lift themselves up. It's a little out of my realm, isn't it? There's really not much I can do about that, is there? So if I take it upon myself to be the moral arbitrator of the universe, because I'm a good man and I'm trying to do the right thing and I stand against evil, what is the source of my pain? What is the source of my frustration? I'm not saying you're not the judge in your own life. I'm not saying that you don't get to pick what you do, what you don't do, who you hang out with, who you don't hang out with, what ideas you bring in, what ideas you reject. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you don't have the scope. I don't have the scope to be able to delineate good and evil. I can do it for myself. I can say, this is how I want to be. This is what I want to do. This is what I think is right in life. This is how I think people should treat other people. And then I can live my life like that. But there is nothing I can do if somebody else decides differently for themselves. It's not my job. Would you like to know what my job is? My job is to take care of my life, is to set my life in order, is to organize the things in my life in a hierarchical structure such that my main goals in life are at the top, and then the goals underneath that serve that upper goal. I can do that. You can set your house in order. You can clean the place up. You can organize all your stuff. You can assign names to everything. And if you'll do that, see, this is patriarchal power. This is male power. This is what we do. It's built into us. The current meta story going around is that the men are evil for that. They are not. This is this is from creation. This is what you do, or you're supposed to do. And if you'll do it, other people will see it. And if they lack this quality, this ability, they might want to learn it. And you know what they might want to do? They might want to hang out with you and help you do it. Because you're doing a job that they haven't learned how to do it yet. You're putting aside your judgments of what is right and wrong with the world, what is good, what is evil. Not in your individual life. You can keep that. And now you're doing everything you can to take care of your life. You are commanded to do this. This is the commandment from God to Adam. You take care of the garden. You name and identify everything according to its function. And the one thing that you can't do is to take the power of an omniscient mind like that of God unto yourself. And if you do so, the number of burdens, the number of traumas and problems that you take onto yourself are 1,000,000 times above and beyond what you, an individual man, can do in his individual life. But why not just focus on you and your life and getting that in order, since that is the commandment for you? Do not allow yourself to get distracted by right, by good and evil. It's a presumptuous arrogance. So, is the cause of your suffering and pain and frustration the things that happen to you, or what you think about them? Let's say you're on your way to a party, wedding, your job, a friend, to visit a friend, whatever, and you get a flat tire, something goes wrong, something gets in the way. This is a cause for concern. This is a little upsetting. But is it evil? Of course not. It's just events. What if you decide that it's evil? Do you see the mental burden and anguish the person has taken on to themselves? How can they let it go? I'm struggling with the idea of self-empowerment, okay? What do I do? What decisions do I make? How important are they? With the contrasting idea of just minding my own business and taking care of my own life. And I struggle with the idea that perhaps I'm just trying to be a naive child that's always positive and always happy. I can't do that. That would just be a betrayal, an abdication of responsibility in my own life, it seems. Perhaps it's something along the idea of, well, here's the thing, okay? Here, let's stick with this. As a result of taking onto myself the burden, the judgment of good and evil, which is something well beyond the scope of my knowledge, that's pretty arrogant. That's pretty presumptuous. Do you see the headaches, the worry, the concerns that the good man could be taking upon himself that were never meant to be his? And I'm not saying that we don't decide, what's good and what's evil. It's not quite what I'm saying. I'm saying to think that you are the final arbitrator of it for others is such presumptuous arrogance that if you do so, you are destined to toil with the earth, with the dirt, with the dust, and to get very, very little out of it. If you don't do that, if you maintain the responsibilities in your life and you do what is good without the judgment. And when the bad happens, you strengthen your heart. You keep your focus upon your primary goal. You keep your garden in order. You have now just spared yourself a life of toil and frustration and suffering over things that you can't do anything about. But if you will be responsible to your job, to your nature, you are now free to build the future without the burden of how you feel about what you think. You can now immerse yourself into your activities. You can now give yourself wholeheartedly to your tasks, to your job, to your major goal, without the voice telling you that this is, what other people are doing is evil. Perhaps it is, no doubt, right? They're trying to destroy the story that makes man, man. And man is in the image of God, but not God. Perhaps you are trying to take on too much to yourself. And by doing so, not paying attention to the things that you should be paying attention to. And by doing this, you borrow a level of frustration, resentment, anger, judgment that you can't do anything about it anyway. And I don't mean that to sound disempowering. No, this is actually very empowering. Stop focusing on things that are beyond your scope. Focus on the things that are within your control. This is a Stoic principle. In any case, this is just the beginning. I want to give the men who are suffering and in pain a little bit of insight. It really could be just the way you're looking at it. To summarize, if you're looking out at the world and expecting everything to conform to what your idea of good versus evil is, that's a lifetime of disappointment, isn't it? But if you're focused on the good things in your life, maintaining them, ordering them, structuring them, you can occupy your mind with your tasks and you can make progress with your tasks. So this is what I think it means to not partake of the tree of good and evil. And that as a result of doing so, we cast ourselves out of this peaceful garden of human existence. My struggle in understanding this, and maybe some of you can help me with this, is that in doing so, are we abdicating our responsibility? Or by doing so, are we taking on a responsibility that's so far above us that it's this foolish arrogance that then gives us a lifetime and a constant mental chatter that destroys the quality of our life? It's a tricky question, right? And this is an interesting idea. It's a Jordan Peterson idea, but I think it's very meaningful. And please forgive me in my limited ability, to clearly illustrate this idea, but give it some thought. And if you have any ideas on it, I would love to hear them in the comments section below. And please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate, and join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, men.